Hi, I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style and 16 Style Types.
And I'm Jill Chivers from Shop Your Wardrobe and 16 Style Types. And one of our central principles that guides everything we do at 16 Style Types is about authenticity and being your most authentic style self. And, you know, there's just so much information available online, so much style education. It does vary from, excellent through to not helpful. And, if you have been on a style journey for any period of time, you would have encountered some of this information. And, as women of a certain age, we can find ourselves really craving authenticity. We just want our style to represent who we are. We don't want to wear a costume. We don't want to feel like we're choosing somebody else's version of style. And this can happen if we have stylish women around us, or we are following somebody online who's stylish, an influencer, for example, and we do some copying. Now, this is not to say you don't ever want to use somebody else's style as a jumping off point or as a, something to put into your inspiration pot. But the whole idea of choosing somebody else's style and adopting it wholesale can really make you feel like you're wearing somebody else's clothes. You are wearing a costume. And, that's just kind of the living definition of inauthenticity, in my opinion. You're playing a role. Some of us have become a bit bored with our style. It's just we've gotten a formula, we know it works, but we're totally uninspired, and we really just would like to zhuzh things up a little and feel a little bit more excited. Perhaps we've had a life change. We've had a career change in location, relationships, children have flown the coop, whatever it is, but we really just want to reboot our style. Or perhaps we just don't want to make any more mistakes. We feel we've made enough, or we just don't have the resources, either in time or money or anything else, to make style mistakes. We want to be certain. And this can feel like we're limiting our style choices and cutting off access to that authenticity piece. Because if I just play it safe, like I just don't want to go too far off the beaten track. And then, of course, some of us are just a little bit jaded with the whole thing. We're just a bit sick of the entire focus on style. I don't know, it doesn't feel real. Feels like we should be focusing on more important things. Look at the state of the world, would you? When we're talking about style, when what we know is that style is not skin deep. It really goes to the heart of who we are. It can change so many things about how we approach life. It can change our performance at work. It can certainly change how we feel about ourselves. And this is where authenticity becomes just the total foundation of what makes style work. And certainly it's what we're all about here at 16 Style Types.
Yeah, I mean, style is part of your identity. I always say that clothes are the things that keep us from being naked in the world, really. And because they touch our bodies, this is something people often don't think about. They don't realize how personal their clothes are to them. It's only when things happen that they start to realize this. And it can be things where, natural disasters. We've had floods in Australia recently. People's entire wardrobes have been, trashed by their house being flooded. And, and I've talked to people in these sorts of situations, and like people donate clothes and stuff. They go, but they're not my clothes. I didn't choose them. And I think that's something really important. We choose our own clothes. And when people say to me things like, it doesn't matter what I wear, or I don't care what I wear, I'll go, okay, if you don't care, then why don't you come to work tomorrow in a clown suit? Or, and they go, oh, I can't do that. It's like, why? Well, because actually it does matter what I wear, and I'm not a clown. And, like they'll suddenly start to maybe possibly think about that. It goes a little bit further. But I think because we've been getting dressed, and we talked about this in another session, video, is that we have a lifetime of getting dressed, yet so many of us feel like we still don't really know how to do it very well. Yeah. So we've got a couple of questions that we want you to ponder on today. And the first one is that if you don't believe you have an authentic style right now, what do you believe has prevented that from occurring?
I think powerful question.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about just why is it that we're not authentic? Why is it? Are we following somebody else's formula? This is where there's plenty of people out there, style people, style gurus, who are telling you all you need to do is wear, a light color and a dark color and a blue hat and patterned shoes, whatever it might be. I've just made that up, but like they've given you a formula, and it's like, if you just follow that, you'll be stylish. But is it authentic to you?
Yeah.
No, it's somebody else's formula. And it may work perfectly for that person, but for you, it's not right. And you might look good in it. And this is where often is the difference, where people say, and I do see this all the time when I'm in people's wardrobes, and I'll come across a garment and they'll like, don't really wear it. And they'll say things like, people tell me I look good in it, but it never feels right when I've got it on my body.
Yeah.
And this is saying that garment is not authentic to their style, no matter how much other people like it on them, potentially.
Yeah. And, that question is a really powerful one. What has gotten in the way of you expressing and feeling and connecting with your authentic style? Because we can't change what we don't acknowledge. Awareness precedes choice. There's all these different coaching questions that you can put to yourself that say, without that knowledge, you cannot make a better choice. And making a conscious choice, and that's what we're all about at 16 Style Types, is conscious choices. Is about accepting what's preceded this moment in time. Your style journey didn't start, this instant. You've got all these years and decades that have led up to it. And so recognizing that you've had things that have moved you forward, but you've also had things that have held you back. You've had speed bumps, if not hurdles that are much bigger than a speed bump, and recognizing what those are. Now, some of those might be messages that you've been carrying that you don't even know that you've been carrying. Might be old or out of date or now irrelevant style education about what you should wear. Sometimes there are rules that we've carried around. And one of the early rules I remember when I did my image consulting training was about, if you're over 40, you shouldn't have long hair. And that was just an absolute, rule. Now, and we know there are plenty of examples in the public sphere of women over 40 who have long hair who look fabulous. So that idea of that rule, it's just insane. But if we never shine a light on what's held us back, we can't let go of them. And, we can carry around all this heavy, cumbersome, awkward stuff that's preventing us from truly feeling our most authentic self. And geez, freeing to let that go. And throughout your type of style, we do have a focus on this in module 1, but throughout the entire 12 modules of the program, we offer this opportunity to say what's real and true for me, what resonates for me, what is authentic for me. And part of that is saying yes to some things and saying no to some things. That is the art of discernment. It's not always leaning into yes. It's knowing when to hit the no button. And this is kind of a no question. And so powerful to ask yourself that. And then you really can say, okay, I can let go of this if this is not really helping me. And if it's come from a trusted or a loved source, say like a mother or a grandmother or, another older woman from your family, that's when there can be a lot of emotional strings that can make it kind of hard. But it's also about claiming your own womanhood as who you are, not just a role that you have, or, it's not about disrespecting anybody. It's about claiming what's true and right for you.
It's who you are today. We are humans who keep growing and changing our whole lives. So just because it was something that may have worked in the past doesn't mean it works for you and today. And then we can think about, let's start thinking about, well, where do I want to go? So this is where you could ask a question of yourself, like, what do you like about what you see when you look in the mirror? Like, that is a starting point. Now, a lot of women have trouble finding anything they like when they look in the mirror. That is something I've heard many times. But it is something, if you can find even the smallest thing, something you can start to play up, that's you. I think that's really where we can start to define, what is it that I want people to see about me? How can I start to develop a style? Maybe this is a starting point, because, you've got to have a starting point. You don't know where you are on the map. You cannot plot a journey.
That's right. And look, asking yourself, what do I like when I look in the mirror? It's not about vanity. Now, it might be about a physical feature that, you claim and you say, yes, I like this about my body. It might be something that is not so much, oh, well, I really like my eyes. It might be, I really like the feeling that I bring. I really like the energy that comes with who I am. But because so much about authentic style is about style expression, and we differentiate between style essence and style expression. They're linked, but not the same. And we spend a lot of time on style essence, which is sort of the below the surface of the water, if we were using an iceberg analogy. But how you dress and how you look is obviously a big part of the equation. So liking what you see in the mirror, to me, that's an act of self-love. Now, we all have different relationships to self-love. And, I've talked very publicly about my own relationship to self and going through periods of self-loathing, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. About claiming a healthier relationship to self. That might not be your journey, but it is really important to say, there's some positives that I really like. And that's a part of getting closer to that authentic expression of style, because it's based on that style essence, that strong foundation of what drives you.
Yeah. So kind of when we're looking for this, this authentic identity, and your style is just one way you express it as a person, but it's a visual communication. And I think this is what some people don't realize, that what we're wearing is visually communicating with the world, all about who we are, what we believe in, where we are in our life, what we want. There's so many things that what we wear is communicating, and our visual impression is communicating. And so what is great is we have control over so much that goes into this. We get to choose most of the time what we wear and how we groom ourselves, and all those sorts of things that come into this style identity and that style expression, which is the concrete, the outside of what's going on the inside. The inside is that style essence, the outside is the style expression. And we need to work out how to take that style essence, who we are on the inside, and translate that into that concrete format, which allows us to go shopping and actually buy the right things, and to create a wardrobe full of clothes that actually work for us, that we are happy when we go in there. We don't feel terrible when we go in our wardrobe, that we are happy and excited about putting on in the morning. So all those sorts of things. And this is where, we're not taught any of this stuff. Like, very few of us have had the wonderful, mother or aunt or grandmother who had all this, who taught us this. The majority of us, we didn't get it at school. We're stumbling around in the dark most of the time. We've read fashion magazines, we followed some style advice online, and we still feel like we're stumbling around. And what we want to do is turn on the light so that you can actually find what works for you in an authentic way, so that you feel like it's not costume, that it's you. It's the best version of you. It's the you want the world to know about.
So we cover a lot more. Well, actually, the entire Your Type of Style program could be called Finding Your Authentic Style. So it's all about authenticity. But they're two questions that you can ask yourself right now and explore. They're not one-stop shops in terms of, ask, answer, done. In my experience, they offer a long-term process of, I guess, communication with yourself and with others. But if you are intrigued about this idea of authentic style, if you really want to rejuvenate your sense of style, you want to get re-excited about your sense of style, you may have felt like you've either been wearing a costume or dressing for a role, particularly if you've had to adhere to a corporate dress code, then you might find Your Type of Style is really what you've been looking for as a new pathway. Certainly not like anything else that you'll find online about discovering your style. And we'd certainly love to have you join the program.
Absolutely.